6 years ago, a guy named Ed spent $92,000 to crane a 360 square foot house over his roof, and when the bank came to appraise it, they called it a garage. In my last video, we broke down the real builders, the real costs, and the hidden Florida premium that can add $50,000 or more to any ADU project. We looked at the big companies and the general numbers, but one thing we didn't do is step inside a finished unit to see what 6 years of real ownership actually looks like. Today, we're changing that. We're meeting Ed. He's lived through hurricanes, a pandemic, and that very surprising appraisal that every investor needs to hear about before they sign a contract. Now, full disclosure, we just learned that his builder, Cornerstone Tiny Homes, recently transitioned out of the tiny home business. This doesn't change Ed's success story, but it does add a layer of importance to choosing the right specs from day one. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what an ADU costs and what the bank can actually say about it, and the one decision Ed wishes he made differently. So let's start where Ed started, with why he wanted this thing in the first place. So Ed, I know that you went out and bought a tiny home as an investment, but what was the original reason? Like what drove you to do it?
So this home, when I bought this home, it did not have a garage. And at the time I wanted to build a garage, and I thought a lot of my friends have rental properties. You have rental property. And I was like, you know what? I want to take advantage of that. How do I create some passive income? So I looked at doing a garage with an apartment above it, and it was much more costly than I was expecting to do. And somebody recommended I should take a look at a tiny house. So that's where it started.
Excellent, excellent. So what made you, I know you ended up going with Cornerstone Tiny Homes. What made you decide to go with them over any of the other options?
So I wanted somebody local. I'd seen everything online that people would ship things to you, but I really wanted somebody local. And there were two other companies that I went and saw to their offices and couldn't even get in the door. I didn't even, it just didn't feel right. You know, your gut says this doesn't look right. The pieces of property they had, the houses they had on property didn't even look like they were constructed well. And for whatever reason, we went to Cornerstone, and it was from immediately the quality of the product, the people. It was they made a very seamless process.
Awesome. Speaking of the process, kind of walk us through a little bit of the timeline. Like, how did it work? How long from the time that you decided, hey, I want to go with Cornerstone, to when you got it installed? Like, what was that process like?
So I actually got a HELOC for this, and I had a HELOC in January 2020. And we finalized everything of what I wanted with Cornerstone on February 27th, and they delivered and installed on May 8th. I mean, it's a pretty quick timeline.
Wow, that is really, really fast. So you mentioned the day that you started this. This was smack in the middle of COVID.
It was.
How do you think that impacted the process? Do you think it hurt you, hindered you, helped you?
Surprisingly, these guys got delayed about 2 to 3 weeks. The whole process still was fast to me, but it only delayed them like 2 to 3 weeks. They had enough lumber on hand. Nothing got shut down, at the border and such. So it really didn't affect the process of getting the tiny home in my backyard.
Now, let's look at the Denali floor plan that Ed chose. It's a 20 by 30 footprint. It's 360 square feet. It's essentially a high-end studio plus. Cornerstone Tiny Homes built this back in 2020. And while they've recently exited the space, the unit itself is a testament to the build quality. Ed did something smart. He spent $5,000 on specific upgrades, like real tile in the bathroom and pine wood paneling, to make it feel a little more like a home than a rental. Those choices matter. And later in this video, Ed's going to tell us the one thing he'd change if he could do it all over. Now, if you're a homeowner and just exploring whether an ADU makes sense for your property as extra space, rental income, or a place for a parent or adult child, pay attention to what Ed says next about the actual experience of living next to this thing and maintaining it day to day. So what model did you go with? Do you remember the model name?
I do. I went with what they called the Denali. It's a 20 by 30, 360 square foot model. It was probably more because that was the price range. I thought the size I needed. And there were limitations on the size you could put here in the city of Orlando.
So the unit looks great. But what's it actually like to own? Ed's been dealing with something called a grinder pump, and the maintenance reality is something most ADU guides skip over entirely. This is the dirty side of property management that determines your long-term ROI. After 6 years of ownership, wear and tear, maintenance, all those kind of things, what do you think people should budget for as far as maintenance goes if they put a new ADU in?
So I think budget for the septic, the sewer part. The biggest challenge I've had is people put things down a toilet that they shouldn't. And that's caused a problem. A couple times I had to replace what they call a grinder underneath to break up the things that people put down there. That's been my biggest cost, to be honest with you, was that. And I've had to have that cleaned out twice.
Gotcha. And what was the sticker price of the house?
So the base price was $69,000. I added $5,000 of upgrades, meaning the bathroom. I wanted a true bathroom, not a plastic insert, has tile. There's pine wood panelings as well, that I wanted added in there just to make a better accent, and the kitchen tile as well.
Right. Okay. So, but that's the base price plus a little bit of options.
Right.
What was your all-in number? Like adding in permits, impact fees, some additional things. I think you had to run some sewer lines or water lines to it, right?
Yes. So, in addition to the $74,000, it was $18,000 all in. That included the delivery of the tiny house. It included connecting the water lines to my main house and putting in electricity. The foundation, this thing is strapped to 180 mile an hour winds. So it included the permitting, included everything.
Was there any single cost that surprised you that you didn't see coming, that they didn't warn you about?
None whatsoever. Everything was laid out. It literally was shocking how clear and laid out and almost exact to the penny that they quoted me. That's what it cost.
So they basically did a turnkey.
They did.
That's awesome. So Ed's all in at $92,000 for a quality asset. But here's where the story takes a turn that every investor watching this needs to hear. It has to do with how the banks valued the thing. But first, take a look at what it took to get this thing into Ed's backyard. So I know I was here for Crane Day, right? Yeah. Which I was kind of shocked. We're going to crane it over your house.
Yes.
And so, but tell me about that and how was that a little scary?
So the first question was, do you have insurance? Because as that thing drops on my home, it was interesting. The driver, I don't know how he backed it into my driveway. How long do you think it was? 40 foot?
That was a long trailer.
It was a long trailer.
Yeah.
Backed it in, and then they put the trailer in my backyard. Or that's a trailer. Sorry, the crane was in my backyard, and that was a feat in itself, getting through the gate. And then they back up this trailer with the house, and it cranes it over. So it was pretty impressive, the operation itself. They had it down though. They nailed it. They didn't have any issues.
I remember it took probably about almost 3 hours to get ready, and about 5 minutes to crane it over the house.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was interesting. So obviously that was a fun day, maybe for you and a lot of other people that looked. But what about your neighbors? Like when this thing showed up, what did you have any feedback from your neighbors?
So one neighbor seemed to be pretty upset about it. And it's like thinking it was going to be an eyesore, blocking her view. But I had other neighbors come and were really excited about it and actually asked, where do I get this? So for the most part, it was positive. Yes, there's always going to be maybe somebody who's negative.
Sure.
But that person now they don't have any issues.
No issues with it now. Okay, well, that's good. That's good. If you're an investor, pay close attention to this next part. Ed spent nearly $100,000 on a high quality asset. But when he went to refinance, the appraiser didn't see a luxury suite. They appraised it as a garage. The value came back at nearly half of what he expected. Even as Florida legislation slowly catches up, the banking and appraisal worlds are often still living in the past. If you're counting on an immediate equity bump to pay off your construction loan, you might need a plan B. So how do you use this unit right now? I know that you've been through a couple of different things, but are you running long-term, mid-term, short-term? What are you doing?
I'm strictly Airbnb, unless there are repeat guests that I've had quite a few. that I'll do something directly with them. But for the most part, I'm on Airbnb. I am a Superhost on Airbnb. I rent 5-day minimums.
5 to 8 days.
5 days.
Minimum. 5 days minimum.
5-day minimum. I just don't want to clean as often as doing 2 or 3 days. So 5-day minimum's been fine. And, that's kind of what I do now, again, except for some repeat guests that come and will rent for 6 to 8 weeks.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I know that at one point during COVID, actually quite a bit, you rented it a little more long-term on some different platforms, maybe.
I did. So ironically, my first tenant was June and my third or fourth tenant was a nurse. And she goes, you should go on this website for traveling nurses. And I went on the website and I uploaded, and that next year through COVID, all I had was traveling nurses that would rent 3 months at a time because they had extra stipend from their hospitals. So it was easier. Could I have made more on my own? Maybe, but it was it's easy, guaranteed money. I did that for actually a full year. I had nurses there every 3 months, and one actually came back and stayed another 3 months again after that.
Wow, that's awesome. So it's been in place now for coming up on 6 years. It's in a month or two, it's going to be 6 years. So how is it held up to like Florida weather? I know we've been through some hurricanes.
Yeah. Exterior wise, I have zero issues whatsoever. There have been some issues on the inside a little bit, but nothing to do with weather. I think it was more wear and tear. They have the air conditioner or wall units. There was some clogging they fixed. The manufacturer fixed them right away. No issues whatsoever.
That's fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about other costs like since then. So what about like your insurance? Obviously, you carry homeowner's insurance on your primary home. Did you have to add something, a rider for the ADU?
They just added in to my policy. It was really minimal. It's not much, a couple $100 a month, I think.
Couple $100 a month.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that could be significant. I mean, it's not something to make you stop doing it, but it's something to consider, right? Okay. Now, despite the appraisal setback, Ed's been doing something right. He's an Airbnb superhost. His unit is steps from Camping World Stadium, and the income has been consistent throughout the pandemic and multiple hurricane seasons. Let's look at what that actually means in numbers. So let's talk about the value that it's added, right? So you've added some good cash flow to your home.
Absolutely.
But what about appraised value? Did the property appraiser value it? Did you get additional taxes?
So what happened was when interest rates were low, I ended up refinancing my home and I rolled the home equity line into that. And when they did the appraisal, they didn't appraise it as what I would have expected. They appraised it as if it was a garage. Now I didn't fight it, the situation, but I would have expected it to appraise higher than just a garage.
Okay, so it didn't add as much value as you were hoping.
It didn't, right?
Got it. But it did add some.
It had some, but it was probably half of what I thought it should be.
Gotcha.
On what I've heard, ADU should add, okay, square footage and such.
So let me ask you this, because you've said a lot of good things. Sounds like mostly good things. All said and done, if we could go back to February of 2020, would you make the same decision?
100%. 100%. Best decision I ever made here. For a first time, owner of a rental property, I really think it was the easiest, seamless way. It's in my yard. It's not an inconvenience to me. They have their own parking and such. Would 100% do this again.
Okay. So if there was one thing that you could change by going back, what would you change?
I might make the unit a little bit larger, add 3 feet, and instead of 30 feet, be 33 feet. Just to get a little more room in the bedroom. But other than that, I really wouldn't change anything.
Awesome. So before we go, any advice for somebody watching this video on, if they should pull the trigger or not?
Do your homework. It needs to make sense for you if it's for an investment purposes. If it's for a family member, that's different. But if it's for an investment purpose, do your homework. Search if you're going to do it on Airbnb. Do the homework on Airbnb. What do rents are for, just so you know what your ROI is going to be. I'm fortunate. I'm near hospitals and near downtown. So I had a lot of, business early on. And then I've created a brand, so to speak, and again, getting a lot of repeat guests.
Gotcha. Hey, bonus question. You're aware that the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing at Camping World Stadium, which is only what, maybe 2 miles from here?
1.2 miles.
1.2 miles from here. So any thoughts about taking advantage of that situation?
Yeah, so the rent will go up during those times, the games they have here. And I've even considered trying to find a rickshaw to take people back and forth to the game.
Gotcha. All right, Ed. Well, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And good luck with the next 6 years of ADU.
I hope so.
So we've gone from the Florida State House to Ed's backyard. The takeaway: an ADU isn't just about what the law allows. It's about what you can maintain, what your specific market needs, and building a quality structure that lasts. Ed's $92,000 investment has generated consistent income for 6 years. Even with the builder recently moving on from the industry, the quality of the initial build from the permanent foundation means that he has a lasting asset. If Ed could do it all over, he'd add just 3 feet to the floor plan. And that one detail could be all the difference between a unit that books and one that sits. If you want to see the specific costs of the current companies we covered in the last video, click the link below. And I want to hear from you. Has anyone else had their ADU appraised below what you expected? Drop your story in the comments. Hey, this has been the Florida Real Estate Insider. I'll see you in the next one.